I'm Steve Levins, Executive Director of the Office of Consumer Protection. And today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about Hawaii's refund and exchange law. This is the law in Hawaii that governs all refunds and exchanges when you go to a store to try to return something. One of the things we're going to try to achieve during this presentation is provide a clear understanding as to how Hawaii's retail returns and exchange law works, what the requirements are, make you folks aware of the law, and learn how this law, a very important law, protects consumers in Hawaii. Now, this law is controlled by a specific statute in the Hawaii Revised Statutes. It's under 481B 5.5. This law has been in effect for many, many years. It was recently amended about 7 or 8 years ago. What I'm about to go through is, in fact, the law as of August 2015. If you see this in the future, the law may have changed, and it's really important to check what the law is of that particular time. But at least as of August 2015, this is what the law is, which establishes the requirements for retail merchants. Now I say retail merchants return and exchange policies. If it involves wholesale transactions, it doesn't apply. It only applies to retail transactions involving consumers in the state of Hawaii. The law is actually quite good in the way it's set up, because it sets sort of a standard, a clear standard as to what merchants have to comply with unless they have their own specific variations. So as a general proposition, in Hawaii, if a merchant doesn't have any kind of specific retail and exchange policy, if there's nothing posted, you go to a retailer, they must accept returns or exchanges for cash refunds or merchandise credits unless they have conspicuous signage in their establishment. This is kind of signage that's going to be conspicuous, so that's going to notify its customers, consumers in the state, of one of the permitted limitations on refunds and exchanges. So the way the law works, again, is that a refund or exchange may be refused under these particular circumstances, say if a merchant does not have a posted policy. So if you're a customer and you go to a retailer and you have no proof of purchase, the retailer can say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you any kind of refund and exchange. And the reason for this is obvious, because you can't establish that you bought the merchandise from that retailer. If you can't establish you bought, say, an article from the retailer and you bring it back more than 60 days later, the retailer is within their legal rights of telling you, sorry, we're not going to give you your money back, because the article has to be returned within 60 days. Again, this is the default policy. This is if a merchant in Hawaii does not have a posted policy. If the goods have been damaged, if you bring back something that's obviously been damaged and it's not the fault of the merchant, it's your fault, the merchant is within their rights to say, we are not going to accept this article back. Or if the goods are unsuitable, or type unsuitable for resale. So for instance, if you're trying to return undergarments that have been worn, or a swimsuit that it's been worn, the merchant is really within their rights to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to accept this because it's been worn and I'm not going to be able to resell it. So again, these are the types of things that would apply if the merchant doesn't have a posted signage. But if the merchant can have limitations to where their refund and exchange is under Hawaii law, and they can have one of these variations. They can establish something like refunds only, or they can say refunds or merchandise credit only, or exchanges or merchandise credit only. no refunds, merchandise credits, or exchanges. Or they can have specific limitations or exclusions on time periods or types of goods. They can say, for instance, we talked about 60 days. They can have, if it's conspicuously disclosed on their signage, they can say that the refunds, you can only bring this item back for a refund within 14 days or 30 days. Or they can say that with respect to undergarments or with respect to anything, that all sales are final. So they can have specific limitations that they carve out. But again, the key factor along with all of these refund and exchange policies is you have to post the policy conspicuously. And Hawaii law is very specific on this. It has to be a sign in a location reasonably calculated to bring the sign to the attention of purchasers before a purchaser makes a purchase. What does this mean? It means a merchant can't be hiding a sign behind the counter where a consumer is not going to be able to see it. You can't bring it to the attention of the consumer for the first time on their receipt. What it would mean, an acceptable policy, if they had in big bold letters behind the cash register, this is what our policy is. Clear, conspicuous, the consumer knows what the policy is before they purchase the item. That would be acceptable. And this would apply to situations if there are no refunds allowed. You could have a signage that says all sales final. You could have a sign that says no returns for refunds. Or merchandise credits or exchanges, or similar type of language. If the merchant is going to put limitations on the time period for a refund or an exchange, they have to post that information conspicuously. If a merchant is going to exclude certain categories or types of goods, they have to let the consumer know this. And how they're going to let the consumer know this? They're going to let the consumer know this with a conspicuous signage. Now, Hawaii is one of the few states in the country, if not the only state, where restocking charges are prohibited by law. What's a restocking fee? Restocking fee is something that the merchant is going to charge you just for bringing the item back. It's in perfectly good shape. You've opened up the box. They can easily close the box again and resell the item. For instance, if you could go out and you buy, say, speakers. You take it home, you hook up the speakers, you don't like the way they sound, you repack it, you bring it back to the merchant. And a lot of states say the merchant, if they disclose it, can charge you 10% restocking fee. They can say, okay, I'm going to take this merchandise back, I'm going to take these speakers back, but I'm going to charge you 10% of what you paid as my cost to take these back. In Hawaii, that's disallowed. You can't do that. But you can do other things. You can charge, a merchant can charge for repacking or transportation charges if they're disclosed conspicuously prior to you purchasing an item. So for instance, if a merchant delivers to your house a washing machine, and the moving people, the delivery people take all this time and effort and they unpack it and they set up your washing machine and you have it for a period of time, and for whatever reason it's not effective, you just don't like it and you want to return to the merchant. If that's disclosed properly up front, Hawaii law will allow the merchant to charge for a repacking and or a transportation fee. None of this works, however, if an article is damaged. So you purchase something, the merchant may have all of these exclusions associated with the sale. You know, they say all sales final. Take an example of all sales final. You take the article home, it's clearly damaged, it's not your fault, you're within your rights. If the merchant did not disclose For instance, the merchant discloses this was a good item, it was in perfect condition. You take it home and it's obviously not. You have the right to ask for a refund under those circumstances. Merchants, however, are within their rights to reject a refund or an exchange if you can't provide proof that you purchased it from them, or if you've retained the goods longer than 60 days, if they've been damaged or altered, or if they're unsuitable for resale. Under Hawaii law, if a merchant violates the law, there can be severe consequences. It would be considered an unfair or deceptive trade practice that has quite significant penalties associated with it. Violations of the Hawaii law that constitutes an unfair or deceptive trade practice can be punishable by $500 to $10,000 per violation. This law is enforced by the Office of Consumer Protection. So anyone who feels that they've been wronged by a merchant can file a complaint with the Office of Consumer Protection and be investigated. And many times the Office of Consumer Protection is able to resolve these complaints. You know, as I said, most merchants in Hawaii have very liberal refund and exchange policies. The difficulties that occur happen when the policy is not provided to the consumer in a conspicuous manner. We talked about the importance of providing a sign in a conspicuous manner, and the reason for that is disclosure is really a key in consumer protection, and you want to be able to have the consumer know exactly what their rights are, if their rights are being limited by a merchant under what the standard refund and exchange laws in Hawaii, or enhanced. You want to convey that information readily to the consumer. So whether it involves a custom order, a special order, all sales final, or the best refund and exchange law in existence, it's critically important that the disclosure is made in a clear and conspicuous manner. And if that's done by the merchants and the consumers can see that, then about 95% of problems associated with refunds and exchanges would be alleviated. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions relating to refund and exchange, please contact the Office of Consumer Protection, and we'll be happy to guide you in the appropriate direction. Thank you. Aloha.